The Bitcoin ETF was finally approved by the SEC for real. The Bitcoin ETF was finally approved by the SEC. And now if you've been following this path of crypto and the ETFs that were announced a while back, you know that the SEC had a compromise in their X account and the account was hacked, and it was announced early, which actually happened to make somebody very, very wealthy. So whichever fraudster actually had planned this shorted Bitcoin and was able to make a ton of money and make out like a king's ransom, just because the SEC was just taking so much time and everybody was waiting for this decision. So I'm not really sure why they just kept delaying it when, you know, they had announced it so many times, and why it took so much time. It feels like there was an opportunity for a cash grab out there, especially because we heard from X that the SEC's account did not have two-factor authentication. I mean, I don't know how it's possible in this day and age for an account as important as the SEC's X account not to have 2FA. But I mean, alas, that's what happened. Their account was hacked and it was compromised, and the news came out early. In any case, at this point, it has been approved and it now is ready for purchase. There are 11 different hedge fund companies that are offering this with all different details. So I want to give you a little bit about my spin on this and what I think is going to happen to the crypto space. I've been following crypto for over 10 years. I've been speaking at events, especially in the early days about crypto. So I was very interested to hear how this is going to happen. And it's almost, you know, a dream thinking about the journey that crypto and Bitcoin specifically has been on from you know, the early days of crypto, where, you know, if you bought crypto, if you had any transactions with crypto, it was seen as very dark and shady, to now these, you know, tier 1 level hedge funds that are now buying crypto and trading it and making ETFs for it. Just to kind of clarify, this Bitcoin ETF will allow your kind of everyday investor to now enter the Bitcoin market. So in the last, you know, couple of years, there's been obviously a lot more activity in Bitcoin and a lot more people interested in crypto, but there's always been some hesitation because crypto and holding your crypto assets in cold storage is risky. So if you buy crypto and you decide, for example, to hold it yourself, you know, there's risks that, you know, your equipment might be compromised. You know, you may forget some passwords or not be able to access it, or, you know, you may get hacked and lose your crypto. So it's kept a lot of people kind of on the sidelines, not buying crypto for fear of, you know, the unknown and not knowing how to purchase it. Now, there are some players like Coinbase that kind of, you know, were able to secure crypto for certain people, but, you know, it was a little bit more expensive. There was more restrictions and so forth. So some people just kind of stayed on the sidelines. And now with the ETF open, it's going to just open this up to a lot more people. And in terms of an investment class, it opens an investment class for a lot of investors who wanted to diversify a little bit and get their feet wet with crypto. Now, the interesting thing is obviously crypto's value has skyrocketed with this news. The ETFs are being, you know, sold at very high rates. And that's mainly because people are having FOMO. They don't want to miss out on the next big opportunity. Obviously, if you follow markets and when there's hype and so forth, things usually kind of top up and then start dropping when the hype kind of lessens and people stop talking about it. So, I mean, would I invest myself personally right now in an ETF? I'd probably say no. Maybe in a couple of months from now, I would regret that. But I do feel like there's just too much hype and there's things that, you know, are unknown. And markets don't trade as quickly as crypto. So for example, if you buy Bitcoin today and you purchase it and you keep it for yourself, either in cold storage or a wallet of some sort, you buy it at the value, you know what value it is. When you buy through an ETF, usually it is delayed by 2 days. So the value can fluctuate and you may not be getting exactly what you think you're getting if you're buying a certain amount of the Bitcoin ETF. So to me, just in terms of, you know, altruistic goals of crypto and Bitcoin, it feels like the ETF is kind of astray from what the true Bitcoin project was really about. I mean, Bitcoin was created in 2009 after the economic crisis of 2008 to be decentralized and to kind of bring monetary tools to the people. It does feel to me with the ETF and kind of all the institutions that are getting into the ETFs and crypto and so forth, that we're kind of getting it into the regular financial system and centralizing it again to the big powers to be. So it will be, I feel, harder and harder for your everyday man to buy crypto and to trade, especially in BTC and ETH, which are the biggest currencies. So I would say I'm happy about the fact that, crypto is getting legitimized. It's getting the attention that it needs, because it does allow for easier trade. It does allow for faster transactions. It does help solve a lot of problems that we have with banking, especially in a B2B space. Now, the thing that, like I said, that makes me a little bit upset, I guess, is that we are moving away from decentralization and moving to centralization, as you can see with, just a handful of companies that are offering the ETFs, and they're very, very large, powerful companies. And I do believe that as the ETFs mature, we'll see these ETFs consolidate. So from the initial 11 that are now offering ETFs, you might start seeing, a couple of them merge and so forth. So, my personal opinion is I'm a wait and see kind of person when it comes to investments, and that may help me, that may lose me a couple of good investments, but going into an investment because I might have FOMO doesn't feel like the right move for me. And I do want to see what's going to happen. Personally, if I had some money to invest in Bitcoin, I'd probably just buy the cryptocurrency, or whether it's Bitcoin or ETH or whatever, directly, and work with the volatility directly with the currency versus an ETF. But if you don't know much about crypto, you're worried about cold storage, you don't know how to store your coins and so forth, the ETF could be a good idea. But I do eventually think that, the main goal is decentralization, and for individuals to have their own custody of their coins and their tokens and so forth, it's best to obviously try to stay true to the Bitcoin project and actually buy your own crypto and store it yourself, because that was the point of the project, obviously, before the big banking sector and so forth got interested in crypto. Now, the positives of this, obviously, we're legitimizing crypto because we have the big names, the big hedge funds that are buying into it. So it does legitimize it. I do believe that there's going to be some more regulations that are going to help crypto navigate, what its best use cases are for all the different cryptos, whether it's BTC or ETH or every other currency that comes out. It'll give us a little bit of some parameters of how it can be used. It'll make the markets and individuals feel more comfortable using it, since we have big institutions behind it and so forth. And also, I do believe that eventually it will help us trade with other emerging markets. So right now, I feel like BTC and ETH are just too high value and kind of out of the reach of emerging markets. But I do think that there's going to be some new currencies that are going to come into play that are going to be more easily traded and using, Lightning networks for faster settlement and so forth, that will allow the economy to open up in emerging markets to be able to trade with first world countries and so forth. So I am excited to see what's going to happen. I'm excited to hear what new technologies are going to be put out, what new cryptos are going to be introduced into the market that will help people trade more effectively and so forth. And as a business owner, business to business payments are always wonky. Wires take a long time. There's just a lot of scrutiny and so forth. So it would be great to be able to have an easier way of paying suppliers and customers and so forth. And overall, obviously, whenever we have big institutions and so forth backing an asset, it will provide more stability in the market. I mean, if you've been in crypto even for the last 5 years, there's been huge swings up and down. And I think, having these types of investments will probably now bring a little bit more stability in the pricing. So if you are to buy crypto directly, if you want to buy BTC, it's probably a good time in the sense of, stability wise, you're probably going to see some growth, but you're not going to see huge swings. Now, obviously people really like when it goes up 300%, but they don't like it so much when it goes down 300%. So at least at this point, I'm thinking, as more institution money comes in, it's going to stabilize the pricing, and we'll be able to predict a little bit more what the gains are going to be, kind of like the stock market and so forth. There could always be black swan events that happen here and there, but obviously when there's more people involved in a type of asset class like crypto, the more stability it will bring. Now, the cons and the things that you need to be looking out for is obviously, like I said, if you're buying through an ETF, you're not buying BTC in real time. So the price may fluctuate. You may not be getting exactly what you're thinking you're getting. So that might not be the best thing. But for people who are just kind of scared of buying their own crypto and so forth, that could be a positive. Now, also, like I said, you are not the holder of your crypto. So there have been situations where accounts have been hacked and, people have lost money and so forth. So, you can't discount the fact that it may happen. Obviously, the larger the company, the more security, the more, people feel comfortable with it. But, accounts get hacked, people lose money and so forth. So that could be a con. Like I said, the point of crypto is really for people to have self-custody. Now you're giving that custody away to an ETF or a hedge fund holder. So it's to be seen what's going to happen with that and what's going to happen if there is a big compromise or any issues relating to security with any of the hedge funds. So we'll see. I guess that's a lesson that we're going to learn. If history repeats itself, crypto is relatively new in our world, only been around since 2009, but really only since 2017 when it was actually talked about and really started to be traded, and your everyday person was starting to buy it and so forth. Before that, it was just a little bit more underground. But if we are to rely on history and kind of take a look at other things that might be comparable, you've probably heard already that Bitcoin is described as Gold 2.0. So if we are to look back to 2004, the first ever spot gold ETF was created in 2004. And what happened is that the market cap at that point was between $1 and $2 trillion. Obviously, that's huge. It's very, very large. But what happened after that ETF started in 2004 is within a few years, the market capitalization actually went to $16 trillion. So obviously it, 8x, 8 to 12x from there. So although it was already seen as a mature market, gold had been around for hundreds of years. It was an asset that a lot of people held and so forth. Creating the gold ETF actually just ballooned everything, and a lot of people were very interested in buying into it and so forth, and it gained tremendous strength. So, obviously, if you feel comfortable and you have some money lying around, it might be a good idea to get involved at this point. But I do think that there's still a lot of growths, and there's going to be a lot of ups and downs and valleys there, so you can kind of monitor. So even if you don't get in right now, and you want to watch from the sidelines like I'm doing, I think in a couple of months, when things kind of ease up, we'll see where this is going, and it might be a good time to buy. And traditionally, there's always been really a lot of valleys with crypto. So although people say, get in now because you're going to lose out and so forth, if we look at the last 10 years and you look at it on a chart, there's always been kind of like mountains up and down and so forth. So I do believe you shouldn't be a FOMO investor, and you should really kind of research and see what the best options are in there. So like I said, I just wanted to give you guys my 2 cents on, this whole Bitcoin ETF and so forth. I know a lot of you asked me questions about Bitcoin just because it's been an area of interest for me for many, many years. So if you do have any other questions on the Bitcoin ETF or my thoughts on crypto in general, feel free to drop them down below. And I would appreciate a review if you did like this episode, or smash that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. Thanks once again, and hope to see you soon.